How's it going, John?
It is going well tonight, Eric. How are you?
I'm actually quite relaxed.
Relaxed is good.
Yeah, I took Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We have some family friends who have a place out at the coast, and we went out to the coast and just kind of hung out and relaxed and didn't really log into much of anything. It was the Oregon coast in June, although it is July today. And it was overcast, damp, and rained on and off. But we still got to ride bikes a few times and get out and do a few things. So it was very pleasant. It was nice.
And you're still within your family cohort.
Well, exactly. You know, we pretty much just picked up and lifted this little group of 5 of us that have been living together since March and moved us an hour and 45 minutes to the west for a few days.
Well, you had a roof over your head. I'm going to be tent camping this next weekend. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed at the coast. I'm going to be keeping my fingers crossed for no rain. Which, at least when I looked last, the 5-day forecast or whatever, it didn't have any rain in it. So that's my hope. My boys and I like to go up to Washington on the 4th of July because Washington, Oregon has a firework restriction that basically says that fireworks should never leave the pavement, something like that. So they have, you can get these little fountains and
7 feet or 8 feet
like
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But basically they don't go anywhere. They're not fireworks is what they are. And so, so my boys and I like to go up and get legit fireworks from Washington. Cause I know that there are places you can go in Washington that you can go buy things that are also illegal in Washington. But, we go up and then go out onto the beach and light off fireworks, which is fun. And you are, it's you and, well, at least on a normal year, it's you and your 10,000 other people on the beach, which I'm assuming there will not be that many people. That will not be as many people for sure. And we'll keep our distance. So that's my plan for this coming weekend. We'll see if it works out.
Yeah, the last several years for the 4th of July, we live in a cul-de-sac with 13 homes. And over the years, the homes have aged. The residents of the homes have aged. And a long time ago, we would all get together and everybody would bring whatever fireworks they got from wherever they got it, and we'd sit all together, and the adults would all chat, and the kids would run around and set off all the fireworks. The last several years, we have pretty much done our own little private show, and then there's one other group down around in the other part of the cul-de-sac doing their own little private show. So we have like 3 or 4 little private shows. We don't get together as a whole cul-de-sac anymore. So, which this year actually is to our advantage.
I'm sure it varies as, people move in and move out and, houses get bought and sold. And like you said, the kids grow up and
move out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are the last ones out of the 13 homes. I think there's only one other homeowner that has been here longer than us. So we're the old people now.
Well, not too far from the truth. It's all good. It's all good. That's all good.
Yeah.
So, well, fun. I actually took this whole week off and next week. So I'm in the beginning, I guess, day 3 of 2 weeks off, which I'm kind of excited about. Although I'm sad that we didn't get to go to Disney World or Universal Studios or anything like that, which is a bummer. But I still kind of wanted to take the time and do some projects and just kind of chill with my boys and the family. So over the 4th of July weekend, at least. So I don't know. I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff, but not a lot of, I don't know. I look back over the last few days and I'm like, I guess we did that. Like, so one of the things we cleared out, I shoveled a whole lot of, animal feces over the course of the last few days. And it's one of the things in the spring, you kind of got to clear out all the pasture barns and you can use the tractor, obviously, as much as humanly possible. But there comes a time where you kind of gotta get down and
use
scrape it away from the walls and use a pitchfork or a shovel and so it's good. I joke about not needing a gym because I feel like I get my exercise.
Yeah,
out and about.
I need a gym. I don't have I don't have a farm anymore.
Yeah, well, you can always come out. I'll put you to work. I'll socially distant and put you to work. It's all good.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. But we had our first harvest from the garden last night, actually, which was, I guess, beets. The beets that I planted, I guess, a couple months ago are starting to be mature. So we picked a couple of the largest ones, and they were delicious. And we got peas that are just coming on. So that'll be nice.
I just have never been able to do beets as a food. Not a fan.
If you roast them with olive oil and so they're kind of crispy a little bit, and then you put a little bit of balsamic vinaigrette and like goat cheese on top of them, they're really tasty. So I cannot do the pickled beets, like the purple pickled beets that are in all the garden or salad bars and stuff like that. I find that to be weirdly revolting. And I say weirdly because of how much I like pickles. But yeah. Anyway, but fresh baked, and maybe there's other ways to do it, but beets are, I think they're quite tasty. So anyway, it's fun. It's fun. It's good. I got stung. Was it yet? It was the day before yesterday, though. I wasn't even doing anything. I was just walking by my bees, just going, "Hey, how you doing, girls?" And I got stung right on the wrist, and then my hand all yesterday was swollen so bad it was brutal. I'm like, I took antihistamine or what is it called, Benadryl.
Do you normally swell up a little bit from a bee sting, or is that something new?
A little bit. A little bit.
I remember.
I hear that's good for for arthritis, so I'm gonna go with that'll keep me limber in my old age.
Just getting stung by bees
on your hands.
Oh,
I think people pay good money for that.
I remember one of my brothers, when we were real little, he got stung in the face and his face ballooned up, and we discovered that he was allergic to bees, and it was bad for him to get stung. So I remember having to avoid bees a lot when we were hanging out as a family. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, a friend of ours was over. This was last summer, was over and got stung on his chin. And this was kind of before I realized that you have to be careful how you scrape off the stinger when it gets left in. Yeah. And I like pinched it off, which I think in my pinching motion probably just squirted all the rest of the venom right into the wound. And his chin was particularly swollen. And I think it was my fault. Yuck. is what I think. So anyway.
Ouch.
But anyway, girls are doing good. Looking forward to some honey. Another month or so, hopefully. Fall goes well. Late July, early August. I'm not going to get anywhere near as much as I got last year, but It is what it is.
You split your hives one too many times. Is that the reason?
I split them maybe twice too many times. But I think of it as they're filling up whole frames of comb that they're having to pour energy into. If you think about it just as like how much energy it takes, they're making a lot of wax. So anyway, it'll be good. It's all good. It's all good. How much honey does one family need? Not that much. So, all right, we should talk something about security.
Well, I threw one note in follow up. We've talked about the Magecart thing several times.
Oh yeah.
There was another blog post by Trend Micro about a new Magecart attack, credit card skimming attack that was hitting local government services, and it specifically targeted just sites that were built using a product called Click2Gov, which a company builds and sells to smaller local governments. So, for example, if you pay your utility bill, your city utility bill, using this service, which you probably don't know whether or not your city is using it, because it's probably you go to your city. I checked the city where I live, and it uses a different product, not this Click2Gov product, but you can use that for paying your utilities, and apparently it only targets sites that have been built. It's no encryption, no real complicated bit to it, just quite simply a credit card skimming attack with very little obfuscation and very little stuff going on, only looking for services using a Click2Gov type website. So, wow. We've talked about that a number of times and saw yet another Magecart thing. So, heads up.
So I couldn't quite tell. I didn't actually read this report, but so was it a vulnerability in the Click2Gov site, or was it a supply chain attack, like where they got something into the source?
It looks like they got it into the source because it only works on the Click2Gov payment form, and it hooks into the submit event of the payment form. So they're in the supply chain somehow.
Wow.
So that's all I got.
I should check my city, the city where I live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if they're using it.
Because I have to pay I pay a couple of things on city sites.
Yep.
Okay. I'll have to take a look.
And then for the topic, last week was WWDC, Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference. I think we touched on it really briefly regarding web access for, Touch ID and Face ID for websites in Safari. So the article that I pulled out that talked about some stuff from WWDC was specifically around 16 different web APIs that the Safari browser is not going to implement. So they're part of a web standard that are not available in Safari but are in other browsers. For example, Chrome, the Chromium browser, browsers based on Chrome, for example. And Apple said the reason why they have not is out of privacy concerns. So I guess just really quick, some of these are, the idea was not using them because of privacy in the context of it opens up the ability for advertisers to use the various APIs to do fingerprinting. So that's, this whole point where if you browse one website and click on an ad for, I have no idea. Pick something.
Designer shoes.
Designer shoes. Now, all of a sudden, no matter what website you go to, you get all these ads for designer shoes, right? It's because they're basically fingerprinting your browser and saying anytime someone comes here, they clicked on that, so maybe they're interested. Anyways.
And that's because there's so many items that you can get that are, like let's say you're not just the operating system version and the browser version, but then with different APIs, you can say, even if every API only has, say, like 2 or 3 states, if there's 50 APIs and they are all returning, one of those 2 or 3 values, right? You have 2 or 3 to the 50th different possibilities of things that can be different, and you can be, quote unquote, uniquely targeted within, some approximate value. But like if I look through these APIs, they're crazy.
Well, yeah,
magnetometer API allows websites to access data about the local magnetic field around a user. You're kidding me, right?
Yeah.
Web Bluetooth scanning allows websites to scan for nearby Bluetooth LE devices.
Right.
Please no.
Well, exactly. That's going to be unique.
Right.
What's around you.
That's the sort of thing that will probably vary, but if you can pinpoint like 2 or 3 things that are in common, and boom, you'll
proximity sensors, ambient light sensors, serial API is the crazy one. Actually letting you access the old serial protocol and serial ports, serial interfaces, USB, of course, geolocation. And apparently there's an API for user idle detection. So it'll let a website know when you're idle, when you're not doing anything. Anyways. So
yeah. If I as I look through this list of things that they declined to implement, I am, for the most part, I'm trying to think when I scan through here, was there anything here that I said to myself, I wish that Safari had done this. I don't think so.
Yeah, not a lot of these. I mean, I guess some of no.
I was looking at battery status going, does that?
Yeah.
Would that be useful? I mean,
NFC.
How much of this is done to allow like a full on, like what was the Amazon Fire phone or whatever that was basically a website, wasn't it? Or that was a Firefox OS.
Yeah.
Or how much of this is for Chrome OS or something? I don't know.
All of them are for Chrome, and a few of them are implemented in Mozilla-based browsers, but none of them are implemented in Safari. The thing that was interesting to me about this in this article as well for me was not only that Apple declined to implement these APIs, it has also gave a list of things it has removed or added a user permission requirement. This one I didn't know. Apple has apparently removed the support for custom fonts, which I was not aware. I think I've seen lots of websites that allow, maybe I don't understand what custom fonts means, but a lot of places you can download or add a font in CSS and render your website with that font. So maybe there's something different there.
I think there's a difference between support for custom fonts, being able to enumerate what's installed on the system and use one of them, and like provide a font by the site,
That makes sense. But my favorite one of the list of things that they have removed was they removed the do not track flag.
I knew this was, because I saw this too.
Which ironically was used as a fingerprinting vector.
It's a two-way switch for,
That's right.
There you go. It adds another factor.
Yeah.
Oh.
So anyways.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I thought was interesting was I know the other thing that Apple has done recently, and they pretty much have pushed the entire industry, is forcing certificates to only to expire after a year. instead of having a 5-year certificate. I got to
Right.
find that somewhere, but that's another one of the ways that Apple is using its dominance in the Safari browser on the certain platforms it controls to push the industry
Primarily
in a direction it cares about. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I is it down to 1 year or is it 2 years?
I thought it was 1, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. So.
Yeah.
It's 1 or 2, but it's no longer 5 or 10. That's for sure.
Right. No, I do remember that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there were a bunch of things in here that they removed explicitly to limit fingerprintability. That's a nice word, fingerprintability. So including, only showing minor or not showing minor software information in the version string, removing plugin support.
Right.
No cameras and microphones through WebRTC.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those are basically read-only settings that anybody that loads a web page can go just read those values. Right. As you said, if you get 200 or so values that are, you can pretty much get really close to guaranteeing uniqueness to somebody. So.
Right. Right.
Good for Apple.
Well, it is ironic that you chose the 16 web API Safari chose not to implement, because I had chosen the new security features that they announced for Safari at WWDC last week, and I think I even tweeted at the time for one of them that, this might actually get me to switch to Safari, which was like the last thing here, but the ad tracking page. But so I thought they did I'm excited about the stuff that came out at WWDC last week. And I actually pulled out another article for WWDC. Let's leave that for a minute. Let's talk specifically about Safari stuff. So there were a bunch of things, a bunch of announcements specific to Safari, enough that there's a separate article about it. But here's the things. So web extensions is an API that Google initially developed, but that Firefox, Opera, Edge, basically all the other browsers support, which means that as of this fall, once Safari 14 comes out, you'll probably get a whole bunch more extensions that will now work in Safari, which, Safari is the last major browser to come and support them. But that's fantastic. So, and that's only on Mac OS, not on iOS. iOS Safari doesn't have any support for, well, I guess they've got some support for, what do you call those? Allow lists, exclude lists, or deny lists for getting rid of trackers and stuff like that. They've got a very, very little support for any sort of extensibility on iOS.
Yeah.
So the second thing is that they're getting rid of Flash, which we've talked about, and Flash is going away at the end of the year already. But as of whenever 14 is released, which is normally August or September in the year, they will not support Adobe Flash at all.
I don't think I've run Flash for years, so I wasn't even aware that Safari still supported it.
I think you have to jump through some hoops to enable it, but it is enableable.
And with Safari 14, it will no longer be enableable.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct. Yeah. What did I had to do Flash for something in the recent history, and I was like, whoa, okay. I don't remember what it was.
That's better than me. If I have to do something with Flash, my first reaction is, do I really?
No. Hell no. Like, this is after squirming and wiggling and trying to figure out another way around it. I feel like there was, yeah, of course. So third thing is HTTP 3 support. So this is awesome. But again, Safari is the last browser to add support for the HTTP 3 standard, which remind me, this is what they used to call Quick, right?
I think that's part of it.
All right. Well, the hyperlink for HTTP 3 in this article takes me to another article that says HTTP over Quick to be renamed HTTP/3.
Yeah, I just read that. Okay. So yes, there you go.
So Quick was a Google protocol to basically do not use TCP and use UDP for HTTP instead. And
right.
There's a lot of details in there, but it's pretty cool and pretty fast. And
if you've watched anything on YouTube, you've used Quick.
That I was just going to go there. That's one of the reasons how and why they've got YouTube. YouTube is as fast and good as it is that they went all the way down to the protocol layer.
Yep.
But again, for HTTP 3, Safari is the last browser. WebP is the next thing, which is a image format that Google created to serve as an alternative to JPEGs. I don't exactly. This hasn't been high on my radar, so I don't know what the motivation for it really was.
I have been trying to figure out a way to do short videos, web videos with an alpha channel. And I want to say WebP supports an alpha channel like a GIF, but maybe it's something else.
I don't know what to tell you, but I can tell you that, again, Safari is the last browser to add support for WebP. The next, breach alerts. So, if they've stored your password and it's been seen in one or more breaches, then you'll get warned about it, which is a good feature and actually probably really good for security, at least hypothetically. But I think that in the real world, I'm not sure that users know what they should do about it and not to reuse passwords. And if they're not going to reuse passwords and they've got, 100 passwords, how do they remember them if they don't use a password manager? And password managers are more complicated or too complicated for, probably the majority. So, passwords suck, as I know. But once again,
breach alerts
to add breach alerts. But
Safari's ahead of the curve this time.
No, because Chrome and Firefox have already done it.
All right.
So that you could tell that was going to be like one of my themes here. So the next two things I think are relatively good for Safari and new. So the first of which is Face ID and Touch ID, which you mentioned last week.
Right.
Safari will support using them to authenticate to websites via WebAuthn, which is actually, I think, totally awesome. And I suspect that Safari will have kind of a unique ability to do that for a while. So that's kind of cool. And then the last thing was the SMS one-time password autofill, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
So it's awesome that they're doing that. And the thing is the theme through a lot of this was kind of a finally. they did that. Yes. But
right.
Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Edge have already done it.
Well, Edge now just kind of says anything Chrome can do, we can do too.
Well, yeah, that is the why fight them? Don't fight them, join them.
If you can't beat them, join them.
If you can't beat them, join them. Thank you. I appreciate help my euphemisms. I like Safari how do you keep up to date when you have one major release a year? You know, I mean, that's yes, they have security releases. Yes, they have releases throughout the year, but not like feature releases, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't think that, I don't know. I think that's one of the problems that Apple's software cadence holds is, you know, you can't release once a year for something that moves that fast. But I don't know. Maybe they're playing the long game or something like that, and it'll come.
Yeah.
But okay. But the feature in Safari that I think might get me to switch is their just the amount of privacy tracking they prevent. So this is actually, I don't think that it's so much a new feature as a exposing of the feature that they already had to prevent tracking. But there's a privacy report button now, prominently in Safari. Is this Safari 13, I think? Sorry, I forget the name of Safari. No, sorry, it's 14. Safari 14. Will actually come up and say, these are the different trackers that we blocked for you on this page. And it's a lot for some of them, at least for the sample pages they've got. You know, there's a ton of, you know, Google Analytics, and there's so many trackers on many sites, but you know, there'll be DoubleClick for like ad tracking and analytics and Facebook analytics, and yeah. So I don't know, that seems like it might be worth it, at least doing it a little bit more. So we'll see.
Yep.
So the two other things that I thought that came out of WWDC last week, we could throw a link. I'll throw a link in here to the other major announcements. But the two things that I thought we had to at least mention are, first of all, that they announced they're coming out with their own silicon. They said that they're going to be having Apple Silicon Macs starting before the end of the year. So presumably that means Christmas. But they very much did not say ARM, at least in any of their keynote presentations. It was not, these are ARM Macs.
I'm trying to think. I don't think they've ever said ARM, even on their iPhones, have they?
I don't know.
They refer to like as their A12 chip, or you know, it's always a code name.
Right. No, you may be right. I'm not sure.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting. They did say Apple Silicon instead of they didn't even do a based on the. They didn't even do a. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the lack of saying the word ARM was very loud.
Yeah. Well, I saw some tweets of people running the beta, because there's in Xcode you can then generate essentially a fat binary that would have it'll compile for multiple platforms, and if you compile for Apple Silicon as well and then do a file info on the binary, it'll come up and it'll say the platforms, and it said ARM in it. It said ARM 64, I think. Sorry, I don't have the picture in front of me, but so I mean, it is underneath the scene, underneath the covers. But the reason to say this though is I'm pretty sure we talked about this a long time ago, and I didn't go back and listen to this episode, but in episode 76, which was called Vowel Shortage in the Valley. I don't remember why, but there was a quote about Jon gets to revel in his Bitcode conspiracy a little more, which I'm pretty sure that's my continued belief that, you know, Bitcode. The reason to do Bitcode is to provide an intermediate representation to allow you to target multiple platforms. So that was my That was my expectation. I did not see anything that indicated that Mac apps that had previously been submitted to the store would work without recompilation on Apple Silicon. They did say that they'll be able to take iPad and iPhone apps and run them unchanged.
Right.
But they do not seem to be, using the intermediate representation the way I had thought they would. So anyway.
No, so magically now everyone with an iPhone or an iPad app will now have a Mac app.
And will be available in the Mac App Store.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Now, that being said, I have watched, and this is going to be one of my something funs in a minute. I've watched a bunch of videos from WWDC because I'm on vacation. I can watch videos about development. Thank you very much. And I'm really excited to get my hands on the new Xcode and the work that they've done in Swift UI over the course of the last year. I think it looks really, really cool. So more about that in a bit. The second big thing that is kind of foreshadowing things to come, at least in the Mac world. So Big Sur is the name of the new operating system, which they're calling Mac OS 11. It's not 10.15, 10.16, 10.19, 10.25.
Yeah, that was interesting. They're like, we're done with the 10.
Over. Done with the big X, which I saw that it was really 1.0 came out in 2001. So after 19 years, maybe it's time to update the major version number.
There you go.
And it's funny because iOS, which is younger, at least by 7 years, is already at 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been updating it every year. So anyway, the thing about the Big Sur, the new OS, they have big UI refresh, brand new styling all over the place. But the subtext conspiracy theorist is, the way that they've done the menus and the buttons and the sidebars and the outlines, everything's just spaced a little bit more apart than it was before. It needs to breathe in the design language.
Bigger monitors.
Sure, but no, the conspiracy theorist says touch Macs are coming. So Apple has been very reticent to, embrace touching of a laptop screen. But I think that survey says touch Macs are going to be here at some point in the not so distant future. And that's why menus and stuff need to be a little bit farther apart so you can punch at them with your stubby fingers and it'll work. So anyway, my money's actually on the first Apple Silicon Macs will have touch. It's maybe a bit ambitious, but I bet they do.
I'm not going to disagree.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't. Well, let's say we'd wait for the specs. So, basically what they announced a couple things though. They announced that they're moving. They announced that the first ones will be out before the end of the year. They announced dev kits that you can apply to get so developers can try porting, but that are just based on the A12X, which is what's in the iPad Pros today.
Right.
But that's not going to be the same CPU. That's very unlikely that that's the same CPU that will be in the, whatever the Macs are at the end of the year. Actually, no. I take that back. I'm pretty sure that in the interview I watched with Craig Federighi and John Gruber, that Craig said they're not going to be the same.
No, because they're if you get a developer transition kit, it's on loan. You pay Apple to basically rent that Mac Mini developer transition kit, and you have to return it. So whatever the hardware is, it's not something they're going to let anybody keep. So
I was going to say that I'm very unlikely to buy the first version, whatever that is. But, it'll be interesting to see what the performance numbers say. Because if it's cheap enough, which, if they're not putting in Intel charges a lot for their CPUs.
Oh, Apple's not going to lower their prices. Come on.
Apple's not going to lower their prices. No. But performance-wise, if they can pack, they can do a couple of things, right? They can pack a lot more punch into the same form factor, like 32 core or 64 core in the same sort of thermal envelope, or they could have, a significant performance upgrade, but at a dramatically reduced wattage requirement, aka battery lasts a ton longer and it's still faster. It's interesting to think of where they're going to go on the curve there, and there are probably some points on the curve there that might make me go, okay, I'd buy, but I don't know, probably not, because I'm cheap and I don't tend to buy laptops.
I have been holding off upgrading the shared iMac. I'll probably keep holding off for at least the second rev of whatever the ARM-based iMac is. So probably a couple of years out, but yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. All right, anyway, we'll see what Christmas time brings. Mm-hmm. That's what I say. All right, that's probably enough about WWDC. Oh, except that, sorry, I got one more fun thing, but that'll be in a minute. How about what are you doing for fun this week?
So speaking of Christmas. So I took off for the coast, as I mentioned earlier, but my 3D printer showed up. So I had ordered a 3D printer.
That is awesome.
Originally back in February.
Right.
And this was pandemic global shutdown.
Pre-quarantine.
Right. And the anticipated ship date was, I think, May at the time, or end of April, early May. And I thought, oh, okay, it was for the Prusa Mini, the new one they just came out with. It was cheap. It was, all right, I'll just get that. And then the pandemic kind of came out, and their shipping date had pushed all the way to August for my time window. And I thought, I don't want to wait till August, because I had all these ideas of stuff I wanted to do with a 3D printer for the summer.
Right.
So, which of course worked in their favor, because I went back and got an upgrade, not the Mini, to the MK3S, I guess. So just swapped out the other ones. And at the time when I swapped the order in early May, they were 3 to 4 weeks out. Well, I just got it past Monday, so clearly that had shifted as well. But I now have the printer, but it is the kit. So it's not a fully assembled plug and play printer, which is my typical way that I like to do things. Just I don't want to
make it work.
I just want to get something that works. Anyways, but I thought, well, I'll get the kit because it's $150 cheaper. And so I got the kit, and then I went on vacation, and then I got back, unpacked the car, went down and started building the kit. So I have, there's a 135 page build instruction for this kit, gosh. And I'm on page 35. So, and then
wow.
I don't think I'm going to continue. I will probably have to finish it later, but hopefully by this time next week, I will have printed a few of the cool things I've been wanting to print and solved a few of my other problems that I have around the house that I figure I can solve with a 3D printer. So I am very excited that my 3D printer is here and it's a kit, and I'm trying to put it all together myself. So
that is awesome.
We'll see. That's my something fun for this week is building my own 3D printer.
Well, when you got it up and printing, I would love to have you. And I don't know how well they'd print off or whatever, but I've got a whole bunch of those minifigs that I've been printing on the resin printer.
Oh yeah.
I've got a bunch of Chitubox or STL files that you can try and print if you want.
Sure.
Be cool. All right. So let's see. My something fun this week. One of the things made me happy earlier today, but so I think I'll say it, which is home canning. We just picked, I don't know, a whole bunch of raspberries earlier this afternoon. Like went outside 5:30 or so, picked 2 bowls worth of raspberries, and came in, made jelly. So
yum.
Jelly? No, jam. Whatever. The seed's still in it. I think that's jam. Because raspberry seeds are small enough. Just let it be. And so before I ran down here to get on the phone with you, in fact, upstairs I've got a whole bunch of jars of jelly just cooling, and it's one of the things that we do a lot of in the summer. And jelly in the early summer is kind of the first things to do. So we've done some freezer strawberry jam, and this is the 3rd batch of raspberry jam. So anyway, I like that. It's awesome. It's totally worth it. But anyway, the other fun thing I really have been enjoying this week is the developer app. Actually, I think it's called Apple Developer. Have you downloaded that yet?
Yep.
You did. Of course you did.
I've been watching videos.
They made it so easy. It is awesome to, the only videos I guess I've been watching have been all the Swift UI ones. So I've kind of been working my way through the Swift UI stuff, but they have, since WWDC, or Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, normally early June in person in San Jose for the last couple of years, or San Francisco before that. They're doing it all virtually this year. So they put out this app called Apple Developer that is just loaded with videos. And I think you can get it on the Apple TV as well, although I didn't do it on the Apple TV. I've just done it on my laptop. But that's my something fun this week is if you have a Mac, it's easy to get. And there are tons of videos. So if you're at all interested in writing software for iOS or Mac OS, or both with the same app, which is what they're working on these days, right. That is totally cool. And the videos are really well done.
Yeah.
I just wish I had Xcode 12 in my hands. Which do you have to update to a beta of Big Sur in order to get it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to upgrade one of my, so I have a number of Macs. I do have my test Mac that I have, since I've been on vacation, I have not upgraded yet, but I have accepted all the license agreements and everything for my developer account so that I can start pulling stuff down. That's on my to-do list one of these days, but probably after the printer now. I want to get my printer done.
3D printer must work.
That's right. And then I can play with other stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so. I approve that priority. That's good.
All right. Well, thanks for the mostly Apple podcast.
I think this was entirely Apple podcast. Okay. Well, that is what it is. That's all good.
Yep.
All right. Be well this week. Stay socially distant because the numbers don't look good.
Yeah. Stay safe, everybody.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Be well.
Have a good night, John.
Bye.
Bye.